You don't know your funders.
Yeah, so like...
Hey, look, it's Throat Lorenz. All right, let's go.
Okay, so Pierre Midyar is not Qatari as far as I'm aware of, but he is a billionaire that has his own political action dark money
Oh, by the way, blind react. Okay.
group that I'm not affiliated with and have never accepted money from. And then he also funds The Intercept. He very famously funded The Intercept, funded Honolulu Civil, but he funds a bunch of journalistic institutions, and he funds a nonprofit, nonpartisan, non-political reporting fellowship that I did last year.
Yeah, that thing that you're referring to, that would be dark money.
No, it's not dark money. I know exactly who funded it. It's not a 501c4, whatever it's structured as an LLC. Yes, I know. They had to issue a statement. They literally had to issue a statement about this because people were going online and making these ridiculous claims. Destiny, I freelance for the mainstream media. I just wrote a big piece for Vanity Fair and The Guardian last week. I can't write for those organizations if I was accepting dark money.
Well, first of all, yes, you can. Of course you can. You don't have to declare every single income source or any. Of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. You don't have to declare every single source of income and every single thing in your life.
Trust me when I say you cannot be accepting political dark money and working as a mainstream media journalist. You cannot. You could write, sure, you could write an opinion column maybe, but certainly you cannot do reporting. You cannot. That would be against the ethics policy of any mainstream media place that I've ever worked for, and a bunch of digital media places that I've worked for. You cannot do that.
Okay, I don't believe that's true. But so the money that you've gotten. The money that you've got, well, the money that you've gotten comes through something called the Midyar Network, correct?
No. It's a separate. It's a fund that is specifically. It's specifically just a journalistic fund that is for journalistic reporting. So it's not dark money. It's not a dark money org. Dark money org. All the money from who knows where goes into a big pot, right? And then it's distributed, and you don't know your funders.
Yeah. So like the money goes into something called the Midyar Network. The Midyar Network launched a program called the Reporters in Residence program, which is what paid you out, right?
No.
So you weren't part of the Reporters in Residence program.
The reporter, Destiny, they issued a whole press release. If you want to go and you're confused about this, they issued a whole press release explaining this. You can just go. I'll try to find the link and send it to you so it's a little bit clearer. But it's not dark money. I have to know who funds me. That is for my.
By the way, okay, when people use the definition dark money, like it's not talking about the content creator knowing who is funding them, right? When we're talking about dark money, we're talking about the viewers, the public, not knowing who is funding them, right? We never use dark money in the sense of like, oh, content creators doesn't know who's funding them, okay? It's undisclosed sources of income from other people that might influence your opinions from the outside. It's a very populist term. I think it's a retarded term, but if you're going to be using it to criticize like liberal institutions and whatever, okay, you better make sure that you are not also responsible for the same exact thing, right? Otherwise, we have a very bad case of irony, okay? So
myself as a journalist. So it's not a dark money fund. I know that Pierre Midyar, a billionaire, funded this journalist fellowship.
What was the name of the, I mean, I can just look it up right now. So what was the name then of the thing that funded you? What was the name of the thing that published the...
Pierre Midyar funds it directly. Pierre Midyar. It's in it through an LLC.
Wait, if you just said it's through an LLC, then that means it's not directly funded by him. The LLC is what's cutting you the money.
I'm sorry that you're confused by this.
Taylor, I'm so sorry. Listen, I was nice to you in the past. These little strategies don't work on me, okay? I'm not confused.
Not a strategy, Taylor,
just to be clear.
Taylor Lorenz.
Right? This is very easy. That LLC that pays you, do they publicly publish all of the recipients of income to that LLC? Are those revenue statements publicly available?
Yes, they publicly issued a statement because there was so much
Taylor,
confusion.
You're not answering the question I just asked. So I'm going to ask the same question again. Does that organization, that LLC, do they publish their tax returns, all their Schedule C's, all their schedule, everything else? You can see all of the income sources of that LLC. The answer is no, Taylor. Of course they don't. And so which means definitionally...
Oh my God, yes they do. Literally, Destiny, go on the website and look at the press. Can you pull up the press release, please, that they issued that explains this to you?
Sure, what's it called? What am I looking for?
Let's find the link. Hold on a second. Let's see, because they had to issue a whole statement explaining this because people like you are very confused, which I understand.
You keep saying confused, but you're being slippery, very slippery.
I'm not being slippery. They issued a statement. I couldn't, trust me, I could not write for mainstream media if I was taking dark money. I cannot do that. That is against the journalistic ethics code that you sign as a freelancer at every mainstream media outlet. Let's find their public statement. Hold on, let me see if I think I tweeted it at the time.
It's not this, the omidyar.com where we focus reporters in residence program. It's not that.
Let me find it. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, this is... Ooh.
Here we go. Where is it?
I can link on Discord. You can tell me if this is what it is or not. But
maybe. Oh, shit. Wait, hold on.
Oh, here we go. Midyar receives no funding via the 1634 or any other outside...
The fucking monitor is blocking my thighs. Oh, no. pay money to reveal the. I'm joking.
Sources.
Wait. I don't know what you're reading. Wait. Link me what you're reading.
Okay. So here we go. They make it very clear and say on the record, they do not receive funding.
I don't know what you're reading. I'm waiting for you to link me what you're reading.
Don't let your girlfriends know that you're watching this stream, okay?
But yeah, here, you can read the last paragraph.
Okay.
Omidyar Network receives no funding for the Reporters in Residence program via the 1630 Fund or any other outside sources. That's really important, Destiny, because I could not work as a freelance journalist if I...
Is the only set that is truly befitting of the DGG Super Soldier, okay? What is this? Look at that shit, all right? That's dedication right there. Surely I will backstab Steven soon, okay? Sure.
Accepted dark money. I couldn't. I would be fired.
Right?
If a journalist did that, that would be a scandal. We are not allowed to do that. Cut and dry. That's not to say that political influencers aren't allowed to. Political influencers, commentators, you're right, you could write for the opinion pages of certain outlets for sure, if you accept these, sorts of deals. But I am not, I am a working journalist. I cannot accept those deals. And this is not, the Reporters in Residence program is not a political, we have people with all over the political spectrum that are part of that program. I'm not a Democrat, I'm in that program, right?
Okay.
So I think there's
Can you explain to me, how do you think the hybrid funding mechanisms work?
There's no hybrid funding mechanism. The money is directly from Pierre Omidyar. Pierre Omidyar funds this reporting residence. It is a fellowship. He funds a lot in journalism. I am allowed to take part in the fellowship, again, through these journalistic ethics codes. Now, if it was a dark money fund, if it was the 1630 fund doing a journalistic fellowship, I couldn't take part in that because I don't know who's funding it.
Okay, so the reason why the Omidyar Network says that they don't receive outside funding is because it's one of these dual-structured hybrid dark money funds. They themselves don't get money from an outside fund. All of it comes from the hybrid entity, the LLC half, which doesn't report where all of its money comes from.
It does report. It comes from Pierre Omidyar. It's
not.
His
no,
fund.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It is his fund, but it's not just him funding it. Our programmatic work is supported entirely via our foundation and LLC. That foundation and LLC. No, money can come from anywhere for that.
Show me one piece of evidence that any money for the Reporting and Residence Fund did not come from Pierre Omidyar. It comes directly from Pierre Omidyar. He funds it.
Do you understand? You know that a person and an LLC are two different things, right?
Yes, but he funds the program. He funds the program and talks about funding the program.
I know that the Occupy Wall Street people, corporation people, you seem to be confused on this, okay? An LLC is not a person, right? So when you say he's funding it directly, that's not true. Even if what you were saying was true, you could say he's the sole funder through an LLC. You don't know who funds it because it's a dark money fund. That's the whole thing. You have no idea who puts money in the LLC.
Destiny, I promise you, I do know who funds it. Pierre Omidyar funds it directly. We know that. He brags about it. It's a whole thing. That's the reason why he does this program. I don't know what to tell you. I couldn't freelance. Do you think all of these journalists, all of these mainstream journalists that work at major mainstream outlets, do you think that they would be allowed to sign the ethics policies that we sign if we were part of a dark money org? No, we're not.
None of you. I don't think there is a policy that says you could have never accepted money from any other type of super PAC or hybrid 501c or 401c.
Oh my God, absolutely. You cannot work as a journalist and take super PAC money or dark money from political orgs. You absolutely cannot do that. You would never, ever be able to do that. That would be very unethical, and it would be against any journalistic code of ethics that you could possibly agree to. That is like basic 101 journalism. Come on. That would be crazy if a journalist did that, because then they could be getting secretly paid by people with political agendas.
But you can always be getting paid by people with political agendas.
No, you can't. Not through a PAC or a dark money group and be a working journalist.
I could just pay you. If I were to give you $20,000, how would the New York Times know?
You can't accept. I guess technically you could lie, but you would be fired, and it would be a big news story. That's crazy. You couldn't. You're not even allowed to accept gifts over $50 if you're a journalist.
Yeah, but who would? I'm just saying that the idea that this is like an impossible thing or whatever, and this focus on like quote unquote dark money, like you don't have any idea. Like I'm sure that they ask you for political.
Bro, she is as much of a journalist as Asmongold is a political commentator. All right. Basically, what I'm saying, both are shit. Give me a break, okay? You're not beholden by ethical standards, all right? When I look at Veritas, okay, what is it, like Project Veritas or some shit like that, and their fucking meme Republican conspiracy edits or some shit, bro, I'm telling you, bro. That is the level of journalism you're aspiring to, okay? It's hella cringe, okay? It is cringe. You're China maxing right now, okay? And I'm not referring to her eyes. Stop. I'm not referring to her eyes, but she's China maxing, okay?
Yes.
They can't. There's no way, unless they have your tax returns, nobody can know who you're getting paid from. Unless they have a copy of your tax returns.
Sure, you could go steal something from a store and nobody would know. That doesn't mean that it's not a crime. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, hold on. Ethics agreements are not going to be the same thing as like a crime if you violate an ethics agreement for something that you signed for a journalistic thing.
You would not work in journalism. You would not work in journalism. And let me tell you, if you were accepting secret money Trust me, that is so unethical that it would be a major news story. Now, have people could you do it and lie about it and get away with it? I have no idea. Honestly, I think that somebody would find out because that would be such a major news story if a big time journalist did something like that. It would be such a gross violation of journalistic ethics. I cannot imagine. I mean,
people write up.
My question is this, right? If she is really holding herself to this strict of a journalistic standard, why the hell isn't she calling out Hasan Piker, who claims to be a journalist, and he literally slanders people for doing propaganda pieces? Like, he literally calls people like a bunch of never-do-wells and like fucking heinous demons and imps and evil people who are paid by Israel and whatever. Like, why don't you call Hasan Piker first? But we all know why she doesn't call Hasan Piker, right? Because she is too busy slobbing on that meat stickle. All right, she's too busy slobbing on the Hamas meat sickle. All right, that's why.
Anyway. I don't understand what you're saying. Like,
an op-ed is not the same as a report. So op-eds are not written by reporters, right? Op-eds are something different. That's an opinion piece. So a senator can write an op-ed, right?
Sure.
If you are a news reporter, you are bound by journalistic ethics.
Oh,
okay, can you sort through this? Can you help me understand this, okay? So like on page 11 here, we can look at the Omidyar Network Fund, and we can see that there is money that they get donated to them from like private equity and other sorts of people. We don't know who these are. This is
that's for the political fund that's not related to the Reporters in Residence program, which is solely funded by Pierre Omidyar.
No, it's solely funded by the LLC that has a network fund that receives dark money. That's how these entities work.
I can break it down.
We could go through a whole thing and break it out if you want. Like,
Destiny, I'm sorry that you feel this way. I don't know what to tell you. If you think that there's a secret scheme where
it's not secret, it's all public. It's all known.
Again, this... Well, that's funny that you bring it up. It is public and known. Unlike these dark money programs, which are not public, which are inherently...
They're also publicly known. They say we have this entity, it raises money. We don't have to report everybody that donates to it, but we report who we donate to.
They're doing...
The point of what Destiny is saying isn't calling it... He isn't calling it a dark money, right? He isn't, by his definition, he isn't going like, oh, you're... Why is it that whenever I am pausing the video, Taylor Lorenz is closing her eyes? Like, I literally pause on a blink. Is this the universe telling me, like, that she is trying to China max right now? Me, a Chinese person, pausing the video whenever she is closing her eyes when she is trying to China max. This cannot be a coincidence. Fuck me, dude. I promise I'm not, like, fucking spamming the pause button, okay?
The reason my story was a story is because it was not publicly known. They were not publicly disclosing, right?
Wait, what wasn't publicly? What do you mean?
The 1630 fund engaging in these influencer schemes, that was something that was not publicly known. That's why
the 1630 fund donating money or giving money to Chorus should be in their filings.
It was not publicly known. That's why
it should be in their filings.
Well, surprise, surprise, it was never known. It was never revealed.
I understand. And again, I know you do this to other people. You keep saying it wasn't known, as in it wasn't part of the mainstream zeitgeist, but you're not responding to my question. You're very good at these conversations. You're very tricky. You're very tricky. Finding one example that's showing up in the media? No, but you're alleging. You acknowledge that what you're alleging would be like an FEC violation, right? If these entities were giving large sums of money to people and it wasn't showing up on any of their filings, that this would be illegal.
First of all, it's not an FEC violation because there's no FEC ruling that says that you have to disclose your influencer sort of efforts or whatever, right?
That's efforts. No. For these hybrid entities, the ones that do this, the pairing of I haven't read about these in a while. It was like the C3, C4 pairings or whatever, these hybrid entities. You don't have to report where the money is coming from, but you do have to report where the money goes to. So my understanding is I would have to go back and look at all this because the tax structure is relatively complicated. If I do it for my edification, because you don't understand how these things work, but the C3 or the C4 whatever will receive money and then they don't have to report where the money's coming from, but they can dump a lot of that money into a C3 that does have to report where it's coming from. So like Chorus will say like we're getting money from the 1630 fund and then they'll say that we're paying it out to certain creators or whatever, depending on the type of entity that they're structured under.
So show me where any of that happened prior to my story.
Well, I want to see I want you to link me where the Reporters in Residence, the LLC that they're getting the money from.
Wait, sorry, Destiny. Whoa, you just changed this topic.
Well, no, this is how you changed it. No, you changed this.
I don't like how she's smiling all the time. Maybe it's because, oh my God, did I seriously just pause again on this? There's no way, right? You know what? I forgot what I was gonna say. Fucking forget it. Okay, like this is
from this, and you changed to this. So I'm asking you, can you show me what? Show me where? No, you acknowledge the conversation started with the Omidyar thing, right?
I will happily, hold on.
Yeah.
Before you derail,
I'm not derailing. I'm re-railing.
On what you said. I want to close the loop on what you said. You said that there was disclosure about this funding program before my article. Show me where that was.
I would have to go and look up the web.
It's not a true smile. Oh Jesus. Oh my God. But well, I mean. It's kind of a complicated subject because women are kind of encouraged to smile all the time. And it's kind of like, oh, well, if you were a proper lady, you would smile all the time. Like you would look so much prettier if you would smile. But somehow that has turned into like Taylor Lorenz creepy smile shit, okay? This is why we need feminism, okay? We need feminism so then people like Taylor Lorenz will never smile anymore, okay? Their face needs to be truly reminiscent of what is inside of their hearts. Ugliness, blackness. Why did I say it like that? Blackness. Okay. Blackness, okay? And evil, all right?
Archives of the page to see if it, to where, I don't have this information offhand.
You don't have it because it doesn't exist.
Well, I don't have it offhand because I wasn't ready for that conversation. I have to go get the links through this.
All right, let's see. I very much would love for you to find that. And I think that when you go to find it, you will find it doesn't exist because prior to my article, none of this was public. And that is the whole problem, I would argue, with these funding systems is that unless a journalist gets a hold of it, they're not inherently public or they're not inherently disclosed to the followers of these influencers while they're creating this content. And that's a problem. I'm a journalist. I disclose where I get my money. Now, you seem to have some issue with the Omidyar's reporting and residence program. I can promise you that it is not a grand conspiracy that myself and all of these other journalists have taken part in this program and that it's somehow, I don't know, you're sort of conflating it with the 1630 fund. It's nothing like that. Not to mention...
It's exactly like that. It is.
It's not like, not to mention, well, I'll say the second part. Destiny, an investigative journalism fellowship is nothing like a secret political influencer program at all.
What was secret? Wait, what part is secret?
It was never public. The funding program with Chorus was never public. It was never public. It was never disclosed. None of these influencers disclosed it. That's the whole problem.
Hold on, wait. You're making different statements. Whether or not an influencer disclosed whether or not they're part of Chorus is a fundamentally different claim than whether or not the Chorus reports where their money comes from, or if the 1630 fund reports.
Chorus never disclosed that they ran a secretive funding program for influencers. That was never public. That was never public. That's why my story was a story, because it was never public.
All the money that flows out from the 1630 fund has to be a part of public filings. Yes?
It was not public.
Wait, can you say yes or no to that? Are you able to answer that question? All the money that flows out for like political or activist or whatever stuff, any kind of like thing like that from the 1630 fund, all of that has to be on a public tax filing.
I have no idea, but regardless,
wait, how can you have, Taylor, if you're reporting on this, how can you have no idea if the statement I just said is true or not?
Show me where it was public. So show me where it was public. Before I publish my story, show me where it was public.
Okay, so here's a Form 990. This is 117 pages long. This is of the 1630 fund. This is for 2024.
Sometimes I appreciate like the names people give their Wi-Fi systems. Let me just start reading them off, okay? Rad, Geosphere, Jordan, Matilla, Test, The Wind, Sint, Evap Franco, Helping Poor is my passion. Not the Krusty Krab Wi-Fi. It's great, okay?
But I guess go find their 2025 one. But this here should have every single thing listed in terms of where their money.
Show me where it's disclosed.
I don't even know. I don't know what the entity is registered under. I can find this information for you, but it's going to take me some time. I don't have this right on my fingertips.
If you're gonna say this argument that this was all public and that it was disclosed, where was it disclosed?
Okay, so then let me understand. You're saying that they hid this, that it was not disclosed on legally required forms.
No, if you read my article,
do you see how tricky you're being? I can see how tricky you're being. I know a lot of people can't see how tricky you are sometimes, but like you're not answering that question.
That's me. I'm answering your question, but I don't know.
No, my question very specifically was, okay, it's two questions, and then you can answer both of these. One is, would it be legally required for the 1630 fund to disclose that money was flowing out to an entity like this, number one? And number two, are you saying that they did not disclose that against the law?
Neither of those things were in my article. Neither.
Can you answer either of those questions, or no? Can you not? You're really not going to?
Actually, if you want to make those claims, I think you should be the one to back it up.
I'm not the journalist. I'm just a lowly influencer. The 1630 fund paid me $900 million this year to press you on this.
You're out here making claims, so back them up.
I did.
So show me where.
If Destiny does this, he'll never escape the obsessed with Hasan allegations. I mean, he already can't escape it, you know what I mean? But you know what he should say? He should really say, Hasan calls himself a journalist. I don't call myself a journalist. I call myself a political commentator. But Hasan calls himself a journalist. I was wondering if you can hold him to journalistic standards considering how you revolve around him so much. Do you apply the same standards to Hasan? Simple as, right?
I researched about this like 6 months ago when the article came out. You go look at the VOD if you want, or I can find this information again. We can have a talk in a few days if you want.
In the VOD, you don't ever show proof ever.
In the one where we went over this like 5 or 6 months ago,
you do not show proof that there was disclosure prior to my article. You do not show that.
The Form 990s are public.
Show me where it was disclosed. Show me where it was disclosed prior to my article that there was this political influencer program that they were funding. That they were funding influencers. Show me where that was disclosed.
Okay, I will.
Hasan has a degree that's related to journalism, unfortunately. Well, you know what they say? Looks like he hasn't learned anything, okay? Maybe he should go back to college, take some classes again, and review on the concepts that he clearly have not internalized into himself. Okay, very disappointing. Okay, to see him not take higher education seriously. Okay, also looks like you understood how to memorize the test questions and answers, but you failed to understand the concept behind them. All right, that's okay. Happens all the time. After all, for doctors, they say C's get degrees. Okay.
I'll add this to my
and show me where and show me, and also Destiny, while you're at it,
1630 fund, Form 990 disclosure, before Taylor article. I will look this up for you today.
And also, will you do me a favor as well? Show me the list of influencers that received the funding. Can you show me that as well? Because you're arguing against. I don't know if Chorus
has to disclose that part. I don't know if the Chorus entity.
Disclose. Oh, well, since you're so confident.
Why are you saying it? We're talking about multiple entities here. I don't know if you don't know how these are working in conjunction with each other, or if you just rely on like the tricky language in order to not actually have to answer any questions related to any of this stuff.
All of these ridiculous attacks, and I'm just asking you to back up your claims. If you claim that it was all public, show me where it was public.
You're playing games. I never claimed it was all public. I claimed that these should show up on public filings. Now,
show me where they showed up.
Okay, I'll look it up for you. I will look it up for you. I'll find the forms. I'll throw them at you. I'll have you. I'm sure you'll wiggle out of it another way. So back to the Omidyar thing. Back to the Omidyar thing. The thing that we started talking about. The Omidyar, Taylor, for the Omidyar thing, the LLC that funds it solely. What is this LLC? Can you give me information about this LLC? How do you know that it only receives money from Pierre?
Because again, this is a investigative reporting fellowship.
You're not answering the question. How do you know that LLC only receives money? I don't know. I'm not asking you what it is. I'm asking how do you know it only receives money from Pierre?
You're interrupting me. Are you ready to listen, or are you going to continue to interrupt?
If you can answer the question, I'm ready to listen.
Yes, I would.
You know why she's acting like this? Because she knows she's been caught, and she knows that if she answers the question, nobody will ever take her seriously anymore. What she'll do is that she will continue to try to dodge the question. She'll never answer it because she knows that whatever she says, it's over. Okay? That is the real answer of why she will not answer this. Okay? It's because she knows what the answer is, and she knows that it is fucked. Okay? All right. That's the real thing. Okay? That's the real thing right there. All right?
Not be able to participate.
You're not answering the question again.
I am telling you the answer to the question, and I'm sorry that it doesn't.
We already agreed that you could just lie about your source of income and nobody would know. So
no, you couldn't. No, you can't. You can't do that. I mean, certainly I, of all people, could not do that. I am a very high-profile journalist. To argue that journalists such as myself.
Excuse me? Who are you? What are you? Hubris is quite dangerous, okay?
Which are under enormous scrutiny, are all secretly taking PAC and dark money, which I just want to emphasize to you, Destiny, please. You continue to conflate a political influence program with a non-partisan.
All you're doing is you're continuing to squirm away from the point.
I could say the same thing about you. Can you actually stop making these ridiculous comments about you're tricky, you're squirming away, and can you actually engage with what I'm saying? A nonpartisan, journalistic, investigative journalism program is nothing like a paid political influence scheme. They're not even remotely similar. That is what I was reporting on.
How do you know that is your claim that LLC is solely funded by Pierre?
That is what that is how we are able to take part in this program. Do you think
are you telling me that the LLC is solely funded by Pierre?
Are they arguing about the same chorus thing? Yes, they are. Ryan, welcome. New apartment, way better internet, stream upgrade. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this shit. This is professional, okay? This is a professional setup right here, okay?
I would imagine, yes, because that's how we're able to take part in the program.
So the fact that you would say, I would imagine, seems to necessitate you using your imagination, and the reason why you have to use the imagination is because it's dark.
And somehow it still looks
dark because you don't know, which is fine. I don't even think it's that big of a deal. I'm sure the Omidyar network and everybody, they state their goals and everything, which is why it's not a huge deal. Same thing with the 1630 fund and the same thing with Chorus.
To answer your question, yes, it is funded by Pierre Omidyar. Yes, that is what we are told when you're starting.
I didn't ask if it was funded by Pierre Omidyar. I said it was the sole funder, Pierre Omidyar. Is the LLC that it gets money from, the only person that puts money in the LLC is Pierre Omidyar.
Ryan, the issue in politics today, okay, is that there's a bunch of grifters, okay, who will pretend that they are Democrats, and they'll do everything in their power to undermine them, to sabotage the party, to try to get them to lose elections, all right? You know, it's just like how Kamala Harris said, right? I don't think the pro-Palestinians have ever protested at a Trump rally before. They've only showed up at Democrat rallies. Why? Makes you wonder. Taylor Lorenz is one such person. Okay. Okay. Have you seen the conversation she had with Soypill? No. Can you link it to me?
Or perhaps his, maybe he puts it in through something else. But yes, it's Pierre Omidyar's money. Yes, it is Pierre Omidyar's money.
It's a dark money fund. The reason why you can't answer the question, it is. It is.
It is not. It is not. I don't know what to tell you other than I could not participate in doing journalism if I was, and do you think all of the other journalists, putting me aside, there's major journalists, right, that take part in this investigative, nonpartisan reporting fellowship. But I believe you that you think all of this is some big collusion.
Bro, you're a journalist in the same way Nick Fuentes is a journalist, okay?
Regardless, Destiny, why don't you engage with the fact that a nonpartisan, non-political investigative reporting fellowship is nothing like a secret political influence campaign that is aimed at fixing Democrats' messaging problem.
So just as a quick thing, okay, I just want to say, because again, I have to call these out because I don't know because you're very tricky and you're very good. So you're arguing. No, I am going to call it. You're arguing that you're not receiving a dark money thing. You're arguing that you're not receiving a dark money thing, but then you're saying that what you do is a lot different than what Chorus does, which I agree. You are correct. No, you are correct. Chorus and what you do are different, and they're different, which is why the reporting requirements are different, but you both receive dark money. But I think that they should have a higher report. But I believe they were doing their legally required reporting. I don't think they were doing like concealing anything that needed to be legally required.
They did not disclose it. Not one. Again, show me one influencer that disclosed that they were part of this dark money political scheme. Show me one influencer.
I don't think the influencers were part of a dark money political scheme. The influencer was getting money from Chorus, right?
Chorus is described as a project of the 1630 fund.
But it's a separate entity. Chorus was solely funded by the 1630 fund, right? I believe, right?
Chorus is described in documents.
You can't answer their questions. That's so annoying. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, you know what? If you're going to keep making these aside comments and say these things, we're not going to be able to have a conversation.
But I can't just let you lie to my audience. You understand that, right? That I do have some amount of integrity, and I'm not just going to let you lie to my audience. The reason why you answer in a sneaky way is because you know that you can't contend with the question that I gave you.
You're not actually engaging with anything I'm saying.
You're not engaging with my questions. I'm asking you, Chorus was solely funded by the 1630 fund, that you know where the Chorus money is coming from, and it's going to an influencer program.
You just yell like this over people, and then your audience thinks that you know what you're talking about because you say, you're sneaky, and you interrupt.
Taylor, you did a whole reporting thing on these hybrid entities. You know what a Form 990 is, and you're claiming that I don't know what I'm talking about. Stop.
I'm saying that
Taylor,
you continue to interrupt.
Because you're not answering my question. I'm not talking to you condescendingly. I'm treating you like an adult when I ask you an actual question. You're not giving me the actual answer. You're just speaking around it.
Well, you're just being really sneaky. You're not giving me the actual answer. You're talking around it. You're being very tricky.
I said multiple times, if you want, I can go back and I can...
She's trying to do the same thing that Steven's trying to do to her. She's trying to pull the same thing. She's saying like, oh, you're so weird and sneaky and blah 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 blah, right? Yeah, she's trying to like do a thing here. Yeah.
Research the Chorus and the 1630 fund. Yeah, but your article, you've misquoted your article over and over again though.
Look, just don't get yourself a Latina girlfriend, okay? Make sure she's nice. All right. Debate unrelated.
You do trickily cite your article. We can go back through your article if you want. You still haven't published any of those public contracts, right? You make strong claims about the fact that people weren't allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus. That was never substantiated. Those are only according to the secret.
What do you mean? Show me one example of an influencer that disclosed.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as them not being allowed to disclose, right?
Do you think that the 7 influencers who spoke, do you think that they spoke because and made those claims saying we aren't allowed to disclose, and that's the part that we cite in the contract that says that they're not allowed to disclose?
So that small part that you cite is not necessarily saying that. Number one. Number two, I don't know who those 7 influencers were. Were you public about their identities? And then number 3, we did read it. We read it tons of times. If you can publish that part, if you can publish that clause, why can't you publish the whole thing?
Because it would be identifying. But I would ask the same thing of the course creators. I would have to say, we can't publish direct source material.
You just did. That's coming from a direct source. That's from the contract, is it not?
We're not going to publish the full contracts that are watermarked. I'm sorry, we're not going to do it. But again, the course creators...
What are you talking about? Just retype it into Adobe. What do you mean? You can copy-paste the thing. What do you mean you can't republish it because it's watermarked?
I'm telling you, we don't publish our source material, but we quote from the contract.
You're quoting the source material. You published it. It's literally, I remember reading the article. Do you remember the...
So show me the
evidence that you published the source material?
No, show me evidence from any of these creators. If it's false,
Taylor, that's not how journalism works. I don't disprove your story. You have to provide proof for your story. It's assumed false until you have proof for it.
We cite the contract.
You literally don't publish.
So what did Taylor Lorenz say about the whole Chorus thing again? From what I remember, I think that she said specifically that Chorus has like a contract that nobody wants to leak out. And the contract specifically says that you're not allowed to talk about several things, and that several content creators have already came forward to talk about how the contract was like unfair or blah, 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 right? And then, basically it was entirely bullshit, right? Like, did I get the gist of that? Did I get it correct? People always forget the fact that you need to show proof. And I think from this day, the contract is not leaked, right? Like, am I wrong in that? I don't think I'm wrong in that, right? I think to this day, the contract is not leaked. Right? That's actually kind of crazy. Not gonna lie.
Publish the contract. You cite 3 sentences or whatever from it.
This is not Twitch. You understand that, right? If this was...
Well, I mean, she... What? Twitch? Oh, you're right. I hope that Destiny gets banned from Twitch, okay? This is clearly blatant. This is clearly a blatant breaking of Twitch's TOS.
Wrong.
Okay?
They could go to Condé Nast lawyers and get a correction. They could go to the editors and get a correction. If any of that was wrong, they could go and get a correction.
There could be a variety of reasons why they don't want to fight you in the story, but regardless, my standard for good reporting, my standard for good reporting is not did the other side come out and file a correction or whatever. I'm just reading the article and seeing if the claims in the article are substantiated. Most of yours are not. They are
substantiated by quoting directly from the contract, which not a single one of them has disproved. Not a single one. And by the way, even Chorus doesn't dispute that.
I'm pretty sure multiple people did dispute it. I think Brian himself came out and disputed it and said that we didn't forbid anybody from saying that they were part of Chorus or whatever.
No, exactly. And that's very tricky, right? They could say that they were part of Chorus, which has always been public, but which they never disclosed and they weren't allowed to disclose, is that they were part of the secret funding
But they're not part of 1630. They're part of...
It might get kicked from Kick because of that claim. I really doubt it. Dude, Trainwrecks and Destiny has been... I think they've always been kind of allies and kind of always been against Hasan. So,
Chorus. They're not getting paid by...
Chorus' secret funding scheme.
No, they're not. They're part of Chorus. Whether Chorus wants to make that announcement or not, you don't have to go back and trace every single line of income that you receive in order for... Also, you completely changed... You're confused, Taylor. You just completely changed your argument, which I'm glad you've now conceded. They could disclose that they were part of Chorus, but that doesn't mean they have to disclose all of Chorus's funding mechanisms.
Because not everyone who's involved in Chorus is involved in the funding scheme. If Chorus is a separate big thing, and not everyone that's involved in the funding scheme. The point is that the secret funding scheme...
Bro, there's probably only like one person that's involved in anything related to funding. Is like any like fucking like ledger fucking book filing person that is behind something. I don't think there's any like fucking cringe fucking fuck me, dude. So cringe.
Was not disclosed, and these creators every day are attending messaging sessions and getting out there and giving Democrat, talking whatever, covering the news, and they're not disclosed.
It's not totally crazy that they wouldn't publish the contract, especially it would expose their source. Well, not only that, right? Like, you don't want to give the contract out to people who are going to be using it for bad faith anyway, right? The issue is that there are bad faith actors like Taylor Lorenz here, okay? Who loves to talk about how much of a journalist she is, who is willing to go out there and like talk about these things when she clearly has no vested interest in seeing the improvement of the Democratic Party. And she has the history to show that as well, right? So this is what I'm talking about when I say that I hate these people who are just simply trying to pose as a Democrat for the sake of blending in, for the sake of like getting some clout and getting for exposing the Democrats or whatever. It's just shameful, man, right? These people are completely unserious. And they're not here to do politics seriously. And here we do politics seriously, all right? If you don't want to play in the fire, if it gets a little bit too hot in the oven, then get out, okay?
That they are part of a secret funding scheme aimed at pushing Democratic messaging. That is a huge problem with our media ecosystem. They should disclose that they are receiving money and participating in a secret funding scheme that is aimed at pushing Democrat messaging.
Were the influencers themselves, were they getting paid by Chorus or were they getting paid by 1630? Who was signing the paychecks?
1630.
The paychecks were... So is Chorus a separate entity from the 1630 fund, or...
Chorus is described as a project of the 1630 fund.
I don't know what that means. What is the business structure relationship?
You can ask Chorus.
No, I'm asking you. You're the one that wrote the article on it.
And we described it the way that they described it. They described themselves. It is described in the documents as they described themselves as a project of the 1630 fund. That's how it was described.
Okay,
and that's what we're quoting.
If it is the fact that the 1630 fund was cutting paychecks to some of these influencers, isn't that legally required to show up on a Form 990? Don't they have to publish that publicly, where that money flows out to?
You tell me.
Yes.
I don't know.
Shouldn't you know? If this is your beat, if this is your reporting, shouldn't you know the answer to this? This is kind of an important part of...
I think that they should. I think that at the time, I don't even think, I know. And at the time of my story, none of that funding structure was disclosed. None of the content that was being produced using money from this funding program was not disclosed. The fact that these influencers who are out calling themselves journalists were taking part in daily messaging sessions and receiving thousands of dollars from this group. And they're going...
Okay, if you can't follow it, you know what? Me neither, okay? But I can try to explain as much as I could. So basically what she is saying right now is that she's talking about how these content creators are basically involved in these like daily messaging sessions or whatever. Basically, she does a lot of vague posting, but she doesn't actually provide any like proof of anything, okay? And she says like, oh yeah, all of these content creators are like reaching out to me in the background to talk about like how evil everything is, how pro-Israel everything is. But, I don't actually see any evidence. Okay? You can't just vague post, all right, and slander an organization without consequence, right? It's a coward's move, okay? It's a coward's move, all right? Like, that's what this is, okay? And yeah, there's evidence of the calls because someone recorded it was more like a mentor program, which is fine, okay? Like, I can picture myself doing that or some shit, right? Oh, what? Am I implicated now? Yeah, it's stupid, right? Obviously, you need, because when you get into content creation, it's a hard thing to get into, okay? Like, this stuff is not easy, all right? I would have loved for somebody to hold my hand, okay, during the entire thing until I'm independent enough to do my own shit, okay? Do you know why most content creators fail? Because they don't have somebody holding their hand, okay? It's because it's a very competitive market, and typically people who have already made it will pull up the ladder behind them, okay? Like, they will not lift people up. They will not help out other people, all right? They'll put other people down. They'll see like other content creators in the same space as threats, all right? So, and instead of cultivating a healthy space, people put each other down. And, you know, if that is the kind of environment that we're trying to avoid, okay, which is objectively like good, okay, like it's good to avoid that kind of environment, by the way. And, you know, people like Taylor Lorenz, all right, is actively trying to promote that kind of toxic environment by, you know, trying to strike down these kind of guiding mentorship programs like a trade school, essentially, right? Then yeah, like I find that super gay, and I find that unacceptable. Yeah, and I think that she needs to be called out. Okay.
Going out and they're producing news that people think is 100% independent. They never disclose that they were part of this funding scheme or that they were part of this political influence scheme. They never disclose that. And that's a problem, I would argue, for our broader media ecosystem.
So if it is legally required for them to report this and they're not, are you accusing the 1630 Fund of committing crimes?
I would imagine that they know what is required to disclose and what is required to not disclose. But as you know very well, these groups are very good at sort of navigating disclosures. And as you know,
the Video Network is, right? Like the fact that your residence and reporter program can say it's open, but it's receiving money from the hybrid dark.
If I had a ton of money, Brian Getty, if I had a ton of money, I would love to do what Chorus does. That kind of bridge funding from hobby to full time is really important. I totally 100% agree. Yeah, true and based. Okay. And, you know, these people would go after you for, you know, trying to give a fuck about politics. But you know, the funniest thing is that they're not even true to their own standards. Okay. Like they don't even care. Like they don't even care about like any of their own standards. They don't. Okay. So it's kind of rich for them to try to call other people out when they themselves love to take money in the background as well, right? Like, which is why Destiny is trying to call out Taylor Lorenz on that slanderous hippies, okay? Clearly a way for her to get her own clout. And I think it's especially disappointing that Pisco would not push back enough on Taylor Lorenz when they were having their conversation. In my opinion, that is quite heinous, okay? But, you know, still waiting for my source, right? You know what? Me too. All right? Us liberal content creators, there's nobody to prop us up, okay? Chorus is a step in the right direction. All right. You know, I'm not even considered a content creator, but I'm not even considered a fucking political content creator. But if I was, I would have applied to Chorus. Okay. But I don't think Chorus is looking specifically for like a drama slop tuber person. Okay. I would have said, fuck you guys all to everybody who would have criticized me for like accepting Chorus. And I'll say, get the fuck out of my audience if you're against this, okay? And then I would have called it a day, all right? I don't want you here if you are not serious about my political projects.
Funny part.
No, because I'm not part of a political. No, because I'm not part of any political influence scheme.
I agree with you there. But it is
a nonpartisan investigative journalism fellowship funded directly by one person is nothing like a political influence scheme.
I wasn't big enough when they were accepting apps. It's never too late to apply. You can still be a part of that and then connect me, okay? But also, they might consider you, maybe. But I think I don't know, maybe I'm just too controversial. I don't know, I'm just kind of unsure about all these organizations and something. There's no superstition behind it. It's more like me being a little bit shy, okay? I'm just a shy person.
I agree.
These influencers don't even...
That has nothing to do with what I just said, though, but I agree with what you're saying there.
It is. But anyway, regardless, Destiny, the point is that none of this was made public to viewers, to consumers, and I would argue that that's a problem. And creators in the program wanted to disclose and were told that they could not disclose per the contract. We quote the contract. I know that you think, again, this is Twitch receipts culture or whatever, but the Wired is a very legitimate journalistic outlet that frankly has no loyalty to me. I'm just a freelancer. If there was anything that these entities had, and don't act like Chorus didn't fight that article, okay? if they had anything to disprove those claims, if any of those creators had contracts that were not accurately represented, they could absolutely disprove that privately. Even if they don't want to publicly disprove it, they could disprove it privately to the Condé Nast lawyers who went out and sought that information from people online that were making those claims. But they don't have.
Hiding behind the journalist label? What does journalist even mean anything at this point? If Taylor Lorenz can be a journalist, anybody can be a journalist. Fuck it.
Because what we reported was correct and true, which is that it was not disclosed. It was not publicly disclosed. And these influencers themselves did not make any disclosures that they were part of this paid influence program while they were identifying themselves as journalists.
That's great and all. Do you acknowledge that at least this is the same thing as your funding through the Omidyar network?
No, it's nothing like it because I'm not a political influencer. I'm a journalist.
I understand that. I understand that you're not, but so you can say, yes, the funding mechanism is the same, but I don't have the same requirements to be transparent about that because I'm not a partisan influencer. They weren't paid by an LLC. They're getting paid. They're not paid by some LLC that is solely funded by a billionaire. They are paid by a dark money. You don't have any proof. First of all, the Omidyar network, that fund is literally a fund that solicits public donations. They're not solely funded by Pierre. I don't know why you keep repeating that.
I'm telling you, we're talking about a non-partisan,
I do think Taylor is journalist, but calling these random YouTubers and the TikTokers journalists is cringe. You know, she's a journalist, like how Hamas sympathizing Al Jazeera is also like journalism, okay? And even then, I would say that Al Jazeera probably has more journalistic integrity than Taylor Lorenz does. Okay?
Yes, you keep saying that it's different.
Journalism fellowship, because to conflate a nonpartisan journalism fellowship with the political influence program is frankly exactly the whole problem with our entire media ecosystem.
Why did the crappy hippies on Brand Center? Why? The fuck? What did they call his work? Way too therapy speak? Yeah, get in line, buddy. Okay, we've made that critique like 50 trillion times at this point.
The fact that somebody cannot comprehend that journalists are held to very strict different standards than political influencers is a problem. And I think that the fact that you are not sort of making that distinction.
I literally have made it over and over again, but you're making this distinction now. Originally, when you came in here, you were upset that I said that by your dark money standards, you get paid via dark money. Initially, you wanted to refute that claim, and now you're saying, well, my funding mechanism standards should be different than partisan people, which I agree with. I agree with you.
I don't know what to tell you.
You do.
I don't. I don't. First of all, that fellowship was only a couple months last year.
Sure, so just a couple months of dark money, sure, which I think is longer than
Chorus.
It
was never dark money.
It is.
You think all of these journalists, all 50 journalists that have been able to participate in this program, and we have to sign, again, ethics clauses saying that we are not accepting dark money, we're not accepting PAC money.
Well, you said it was only for a few months, so did you write any articles for any mainstream publications while you were being funded by the Omidyar Network Dark Money Fund?
It was not a dark money fund, and I literally wrote this story for Wired. Literally. So you believe that somehow there's a major conspiracy where Condé Nast.
I didn't say anything about a major conspiracy. I just think you can probably, as long as you disclose your funding source.
I wrote this exact story for Wired. If you believe that all of Condé Nast, it's just ridiculous. I would have had to, if I was accepting dark money.
The soy pill versus Taylor Lorenz on COVID and masking in 2025. Wait, what? Wait, what? Does she not believe that COVID exists or what? Weird. Hold on, let me get my coffee.
When I wrote this story, I would have had to disclose it. I am not accepting dark money. I have never accepted dark money.
You probably did disclose it. You probably told Wired these are the people that work for it.
It would have to be publicly disclosed.
Publicly? Wait. It would have to be a disclaimer.
You don't understand how disclosure works? If you have a conflict of interest.
Correct. Conflict of interest. What is the conflict of interest between the Omidyar Network and the Chorus for 1630 Fund or whatever?
There is none. But
then exactly, so that you wouldn't be required to disclose. I do know how disclosure works. Disclosure is only relevant when there's a conflict of interest. I don't know if journalists would even disclose it or just would be accepted for the project.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You can keep saying that, but you don't even know what a Form 990 is, and you're reporting on these hybrid PAC entities, which is insane.
I certainly do. We're just making up other things. I want to go back to this claim. You believe that this is so silly. So you believe that a journalist reporting on a dark money political funding scheme, you believe that a mainstream media outlet, a mainstream, very traditionalist one, would not make that journalist put a disclosure up top if that they were receiving dark money. That's ridiculous. The idea that a journalist could receive dark money while reporting on a dark money political scheme and not openly disclose it, no editor would allow that. That would be ridiculous.
My whole point is, I don't think this is even, dark money doesn't even mean anything. This is just like a random...
Okay, so now you're making a totally different claim.
When people talk about dark money, well, the way that you're using it doesn't. When people talk about dark money, they're talking about a quasi-political entity that's not supposed to be avowedly political, that can solicit donors, but doesn't have to report who the donors are. Your definition of dark money is every single person down the stream from that dark money entity that gets paid by them. That's what you're saying dark money is.
No, that's not true.
It is.
It's not. It's just simply not true.
It definitionally is. If the 1630 fund wanted to pay, if the 1630 fund wanted to pay me money for a thing, I'm not taking dark money. I'm taking money from the 1630 fund. I can say publicly where it comes from.
Which is a very notorious. It is known as, I think Google, like it is referred to in major Politico headlines as a well-known dark money group.
No, yes.
Wait, hold on. Isn't Politico like a fucking like opinion op-ed thing about politics more than it is news? Or is it a news network but with a more like a slight bent to it? I'm pretty sure Politico is like not entirely like should be regarded as like news, right? Like
wait, 1630 is a dark money group, but everybody downstream from that is not automatically a dark money group.
They're accepting dark money.
They're accepting money from a dark money group. Sure, you can say that,
but they're not. Money from a dark money group.
But that doesn't make them a dark money group.
Sure, nobody would claim otherwise.
You're saying that that Chorus and all these people are all dark money groups.
No, I never said Chorus was a dark money group. I said that they've received funding and they are described as a project of a dark money group.
Okay, so then the program that you're a part of would be a project of a dark money group and receives money from a dark money group.
No, that's not. That's not how it's described anywhere. I'm sorry, it's not.
Can you show me evidence of the LLC that funds the Residence and Journal program, the hybrid entity that you're describing?
You can go on the website. I don't know what to tell you other than I'm telling you, I'm allowed to take part in this journalistic. I was allowed to last year take part in a non-partisan journalistic, fellowship, which again, dozens and dozens of other mainstream reporters have participated in. And I have never accepted dark money, and I never can accept dark money because I have to know where every dollar I accept comes from. I have to know where it comes from because.
Can you explain to me on Omidyar's website? Can you explain what this means? Omidyar Network is a hybrid structure. By the way, I don't know if you've learned this or not in your reporting, but that's code word for dark money hybrid entity. But so they say because Omidyar Network is a hybrid structure that includes a limited liability company, the LLC. That's what you referenced. That's the dark part because they don't have to report where the money comes from. With a private philanthropic.
If somebody sends me a donation on PayPal and the alert never shows up on the screen, is that accepting dark money? Where do people draw? Like, what is dark money? What does that even mean? It's such a buzzword. It's such a it's just such a buzzword. Like it means nothing to me, right? Dark money. That like every super chat that the alert fails to show on screen.
Foundation. What do you think private philanthropic foundation means? Is that all money from Pierre?
Foundation, which is not the foundation, has no affiliation with the Reporters in Residence program.
They're the ones that donate the money to the LLC to make the Reporters in Residence program.
It's not from the foundation. No, it's not connected to the foundation at all. I know for a fact it's not because I can't do anything with the foundation.
Not directly. You go through the LLC, the middleman. That's the whole point.
No, it's not. It's not related to the foundation. The foundation is separate. The foundation is something completely separate. I know it's confusing because they all have the name Omidyar in it, but it's not.
It's not. It's structurally, this is literally how they are set up.
It's not. I'm sorry. You can speak to them yourself. I honestly think I would be happy to connect you with their comms person.
Sure. If any of them are willing to come on and have a public conversation, I would absolutely love that. Any of them, 100%.
But I promise you, Destiny, none of us working in mainstream media.
You keep repeating this one point like it's helping you or it's saving.
My third donation, by the way. Wait, what? What do you mean your third donation? Hey, you donated a lot of money. Thank you. Holy shit. I appreciate that. I promise your money is gonna be put towards good use. Okay, it's gonna go to my bank account, which I then use for anything from DoorDash to my rent. Okay, all right. Good luck.
I think any part of this conversation, but it's not. You can keep saying you would have to disclose or whatever. You're doing this as a substitution for having any evidence. You keep falsely asserting that you would have to. There's no way this would be true because then we wouldn't be able to write for Wired, which I don't even think is true.
Yes. But seriously, I'm just wondering kind of what you think. Knowing that journalists can't take part in dark money, schemes and can't accept money from like political action groups. And again, we can't even accept gifts over. Like,
I'm sorry. If I were to hit up somebody at Wired and I were to ask them in your contracts that you have for people that write op-eds or for people that do reporting or for people that work for you, you have the term dark money shows up in those contracts.
I don't know if the term dark money, but certainly, yeah, you can't accept political funding. You can't take part in political.
So notice how you changed it again? Okay, but thank you for admitting that. Okay, go on to the next part.
I'm just saying, I don't know the way that they word it specifically, but I can promise you that journalists this is a very important thing that I think a lot of people don't realize.
How's the new digs, Foodshops? What do you mean by new digs? What do you mean by
about that? Journalists, yourself included, and we cannot accept that sort of money. That would be very unethical. And I know that you believe that this nonprofit, this nonpartisan journalism fellowship is similar to this secret political.
Oh, new place. I love it. It's amazing. It's a little bright is okay. Okay, like this brightness is okay. Otherwise, it'll be too saturated because I have the saturation like way up. So I gotta be careful. It looks nice. Thank you. Too bright. Okay, sorry. Got to change the saturation a little bit from time to time.
Influence program
because it's funded by the foundation.
It's not funded by the foundation. I don't know what to tell you that. It's simply not.
It's not funded by the foundation, really?
Do you think that the Omidyar Foundation, by the way, is completely diametrically politically opposed to me? So it would be very hilarious.
Then why is it that it says on the site, Omidyar Network receives no funding for the Reporters in Residence program via the 1630 fund or any other outside sources.
Looks like you're in the Las Vegas hotel, like the Cosmopolitan. Is that good?
Our programmatic work is supported entirely via our foundation and LLC. Can you break that down for me? Or am I confused what foundation means?
Programmatic work, but it's not funded by the foundation. They operate a nonprofit. They operate a political group.
Programmatic work.
I don't know what to tell you. Well, again, they're PR person on the line, and they can explain it to you. But fundamentally, you're going in circles around all this stuff. The point is that even here's the thing. Let me also just like get this to you.
Go for it.
What's so funny about all of this is that everything I do is public and disclosed, right? So you can like litigate all of this stuff. The whole point of my article is the fact that this political influence program was not publicly disclosed. And these influencers are out acting like journalists, or saying that they're journalists without publicly disclosing their funding.
What, do they have to be journalists?
They are describing themselves as journalists.
I thought they were just like influencers or streamers or whatever.
Well, they're describing themselves as journalists.
Yeah, but journalist is not like that's not a protected title. Anybody can describe themselves. Nick Shirley describes himself as a journalist.
I mean, you describe yourself as a journalist, motherfucker.
Sure,
right?
sure. And Nick Shirley is probably also doing a lot of unethical things. I think it's really in the public's interest to know, again, that if you are out there talking about the news and pretending that you're an independent journalist, which comes with certain levels of connotations, and yet you are taking part in a secret political influence scheme, I think that's in the public interest to know. You're attending daily messaging check-ins. Again, you are part of a scheme that exists to promote democratic messaging. The public deserves to know that. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know what the report. I would say the public deserves to know at the bare minimum whatever the legally reported requirements are. It sounds like you're saying that they weren't violating any laws in terms of what they're reporting.
So you think it's okay for influencers to take a lot of money for a political influence scheme and not disclose it to their fans?
I don't like that. But I think that my push, if I wasn't being politically partisan, would be to push Congress or to push legislators to make it so that there were stricter FEC requirements around what had to be disclosed, rather than to partisanly attack only some organizations because I don't like them. Because it gives the impression that everybody else is above board, especially when your funding mechanism is the exact same as the one you're criticizing.
No. I am certainly not. I absolutely. And also, a few-month fellowship is nothing. Like, I know exactly where every single dollar of my money comes from, and I have never, ever taken money without disclosing it.
Did she just slander Nick Shirley for the hell of it? No. Destiny did, right?
Okay. But your money is, but the funding mechanism, I read it, the thing it said, the work for the Reporters and Residents program is funded via the foundation and LLC, which is, you don't know where that money all comes from. That is literally how it works.
I'm sorry that you're confused by this. And again, you can speak to the PR people at Omidyar because you're confused by it.
I'm definitely not confused, I promise.
Can you stop? Can you, now that we've gone in circles enough, I think, on that, can you engage with the broader points, which you were saying on your stream earlier, of all of this stuff that that there was disclosure, that this was public, that influencers were talking about being part of the room? You don't have any evidence of that. So if you're going to make those claims, you better have evidence, because I promise you.
Wait, which claims am I making that you're not comfortable with?
That you said on your stream, which is what I'm trying.
Is this new or the old one he did? This would be new. This would be the one that he did today.
To sort of debunk, is that you said this was public. You said that there was.
I said that there are public filing requirements for these programs. My understanding.
No, you said that influencers had disclosed it and could talk about the fact that they were part of this funding program.
My understanding is influencers weren't forbidden from disclosing it. I don't know if all of them did. I don't know if they're required to.
They weren't forbidden from disclosing it, and you have no evidence showing that they weren't forbidden from disclosing it.
Wait, what? Don't you have to show evidence that they were forbidden from disclosing it? That's so silly. That's such a silly thing to me. A little itty-bitty silly thing to me, okay? She is the one claiming that these people were forbidden to disclose these things, and then they just said, can you show me anything that shows me that they are not? What? Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind?
This is on you to make that, to prove that.
Dude, are you under the clip channel embargo of uploading 2 days after the stream? Wait, what? No? What is that?
The contract, and we cite the contract.
You don't cite from the contract. You cite, first of all, you cite a part of the contract.
From the contract.
Yes, you don't quote from it. You paste a part of the contract on your article, but then you also simultaneously, you can't post the whole thing, which I don't understand.
We quote from the contract. We quote.
I fucking love. Why does Taylor Lorenz use this avatar? Why does Taylor Lorenz use this avatar? Yes, kind of. What is
directly
this?
From the contract.
Am I remembering, or was it somebody else that posted this picture? Am I mixing your article up with somebody else's? Is it a picture of like 3 clauses as part of the contract, or was it just a quote?
That was one of the influencers that showed the contract validating, confirming our reporting, because the one influencer that posted part of her contract actually confirmed, she inadvertently confirmed our reporting. And that's, if you look at the response, people are like, oh, this confirms what she said.
Then why not just publish the contract? If they're showing you that to bolster it, why just publish a part of it?
Well, you'll have to call the lawyers up and ask why they don't let people publish source material. But what I will tell you is that
you're telling me that they would allow you to publish a part of a contract, but not more parts of the contract?
You can quote from a contract, but you can't publish the full contract in full. Again, that's just the decision made to not publish the source material, which is pretty standard. It's very rare that you're allowed to publish your direct source material. Again, because this is not Twitch receipts culture.
Well, it's not about Twitch receipts culture. You keep saying this like very derisively, but the problem is that your article contains so much like half-truth or just information that wasn't substantiated at all that it seems like there'd be an onus on you to actually show that what you're saying is true, rather than just anonymous.
We quote directly from the contract, and the influencer that showed her contract, that showed part of her contract, confirms our reporting, and also not a single influencer in the program, privately or publicly, has been able to provide any evidence that what we reported was false. It's just simply that's why it's factually correct. I'm sorry. That's why I want you to engage with reality, which is that this is the program that they were running. And by the way, they still have not been public about who's in the program. Even now, even currently, there is no public disclosure of who they're funding. And I would argue, I agree with you that Congress should take this up and that there should be filings. But I would argue, in the meantime, all of these groups should be public. And by the way,
so in your article here, so you have, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, the creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. I never saw anything that was that this is from in any of the contract.
Again, every single creator, we have multiple copies of the contract from all the creators. None of the creators were able to provide a single shred of evidence that this is false. None of the
Wait, dude, what are you talking about? You're the one that's supposed to be providing evidence for your positive claim, right? So in case you guys are confused a little bit about what's going on, she basically says that, oh yeah, all of these content creators under Chorus have not yet provided counter evidence to my implications in which I have no substantiation over, right? In which I have no evidence of, okay? That's essentially what she's saying, if you're confused, all right? She's just basically saying you should prove my negative, all right? If you're confused about where we're at and this is just screaming and whatever, right? Like, what's going on right now is that she is just arguing about, like, this is like claims 101, right?
I'm just engaging with your article, and I'm wondering.
Our article is correct, and we cite.
Just redact all the people in the apology arrest. I think that nobody owes Taylor Lorenz fucking anything, okay? I think that she should be dismissed, socially ostracized, and cast down the deepest pits of Tartarus. Okay.
The contract. We have copies of the contract. We cite them. We say, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. And again, none of the creators that have come out since in all the controversy, if that was wrong, and if their contract actually didn't say that,
where are the quotes in here?
On that story.
Where is the citation or quotes here from the contract? I see you quoting like 2 or 3 words at a time.
You see, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, right? You can read that, right?
Yeah. So that's your interpretation.
Don't ever divulge any information outside what is legally required. Yeah.
I'm reading an op-ed. This is basically an op-ed right now. It's an op-ed. I'm getting an op-ed.
No, it's not an op-ed. It's not an op-ed.
Basically, yeah.
No, it's not. It is not an op-ed. Go look at what it is in the news section. It is not an op-ed. It's not subject to any of that sort of rules.
This is your opinion on what the contract said. You're not giving me. I don't see any.
No, there's no opinion there. It is according. We are citing directly.
Okay, yeah, you're not quoting. I don't know what you're citing. I mean, if you're saying not a quotation,
we cite the contract. And again, Destiny.
This is your interpretation of what the contract said. I want to see the contract.
It's not our interpretation. It is not our interpretation. It's what the creators were told. It's what the contract says. Do
you have proof? Did you post proof that the creators were told that? Were there any text messages or emails or communications that were published in this?
We cite a bunch of that stuff. If you go through and read the story, you can see that the story is based on.
I just see your interpretations of things.
No, I don't know what to tell you other than, like, do you think that these hundreds of creators in this program, if this was never in the, or over 100 creators, I think, in the initial class, right? If this was actually not in the contract, or we got it wrong, why, when Wired's lawyers reached out, why wouldn't there be a correction on that article?
It could be a variety of reasons. It could be that they don't want to get into a protracted war with you if they feel like you have nothing to lose and they have things to lose. It could be that they feel like you're
Bro, you're a bad faith shit stir, okay? You're pathetic. You're a bad faith shit stir. Why the fuck should they give you anything, okay? You're so full of yourself. You get 1 ounce of attention, all right? Because you've been attention deprived by daddy your entire life, okay? Because you haven't received any attention as a child, all right? And you grew up in a strict household in which nobody showed any love to you. And now, when you are being shown love, you feel as though you deserve it now, and you want everybody to praise and shower you with affection and love. You are Ghoul from DS9 if you were Taylor Lorenz and a leftist, okay? You just want the Bajorans to love and cherish you for all the oppression that you've done, okay? Even though the real lesson you should be learning is that sometimes in the world, not everyone is going to entertain you or like you or they want to give you any kind of information, okay? All right? This is the way of things. All right.
Reporting can never be countered with any number of contract releases because you'll always find some other thing to fight them on. It could be that they don't feel like they don't want to give away some amount of information that they have a right to retain privacy to. It could be they feel like their influencers are going to be harassed because you call out so many specific names in this article, seemingly just for the purpose of directing.
You know, I love Star Trek in the way that it really teaches me about real people, okay? Real people like Taylor Lorenz act just like, Taylor Lorenz actually acts just like Kai Wynn, all right? Does anybody remember Kai Wynn from Deep Space Nine? She reminds me of Kai Wynn, all right? If you don't get it, don't worry about it.
Harassment at them? I don't know, there could be a million reasons why they don't want to.
None of those things that you gave are any sort of legitimate, because we could be legally sued if we didn't correct it. I would be sued and Wired would be sued if we knew. All of those things that you said are irrelevant. If we knowingly printed false information and refused to correct it or chose not to correct it, then you have a lawsuit on your hands. So it's just, and by the way, it's so eager, right? Remember, they were like, oh, we'd love to sue. I'm sorry, they would issue a correction.
Well, they did issue a correction. Brian Tyler-Cohen made a video speaking about the stuff. You don't like it, but they did issue what they felt like. No, there's not any. Oh, I'm sorry. You meant Wired would issue a correction. Sure. Wired has not corrected any of this article. That's fine. But my guess is going to be just the optics of it alone of a media interest, or I'm sorry, some partisan interest group suing a political outlet or a media outlet probably is a really bad look, irrespective of.
Again, they don't have to sue. They could just get the article corrected. And the fact that it's not corrected is because it's because it's not false. It's simply not false. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not false. And by the way, that influencer that shared a portion of her contract only
Destiny's claims outside of his audience aren't strong enough right now. Well, I mean, I think Destiny just needs to do a better job of like clarifying like why her model matches up with what she is doing on her like money group, right? Like Destiny shouldn't be hinging upon this example until he's explained step by step exactly how she also fits this model, right? Basically, he should say, well, it seems as though according to you, the definition of dark money is A, B, and C. Well, it seems to me that you're funded by this organization that seems to be A, B, and C, which also seems to be like what you're accusing Chorus of, right? You're accusing Chorus of the specifically A, B, and C, but you yourself seem to be guilty of the same exact thing. So would it be plausible to call you a hypocrite, right? Like you need to specifically name what A, B, and C is, right? Makes sense?
Our reporting. So I would love if the contract was uploaded publicly by these creators. They could go for it. But regardless, our reporting stands completely confirmed. And if it was false, there would be a correction. Because even if they don't want to do it publicly, they would happily provide the lawyer with proof that I was wrong. They would happily get the article corrected. That's all they would want to do is get that article corrected because they don't.
That's fine. That like if that's your perspective, that's okay. My standard for journalism is a bit higher. No, this is Slop journalism. What you're describing is that I publish a thing, and if there hasn't been a retraction or correction on it, then the thing must be 100% true, even if I do a really shoddy job at justifying any of it in the article. And the reality is that you don't justify any of your stronger claims in the article. You don't justify that content restrictions exist, like you put, I think, in the headline of the article. You don't justify that the people were totally forbidden from disclosing anything, which seems to be contradicted by the fact that as soon as this article came out, a ton of people started talking about them.
You don't have any proof of your claims otherwise.
I don't have to prove mine. I'm the reader. The onus is on you, Taylor. Taylor, you're the journalist. You have to prove your claims.
You take secret money from some evil monster. I don't have to claim otherwise. I don't have to. I can just say whatever I want. It's up to you to disprove it. Like you're just making these ridiculous claims.
Well, I agree. That would be a ridiculous claim. But what you just did is what you did before. You made a random claim, and now you're telling me that I have to disprove it. I can't disprove it. But you never even proved your claim.
The article. I really think you have a deep misunderstanding of journalism.
I know you keep saying these words, and I appreciate you saying them and spinning people around in circles.
Journalists can just go. And I know, and I understand the distrust in journalism. I really do. But
mainly alt media journalism, especially because of subjects like this. But yeah.
Sure. But like to act like, my whole article is secretly untrue. And
she's playing AD chicken and winning. I wouldn't say she's winning, though. I would not say she's winning, though. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. That these influencers that are so desperate to prove me wrong would somehow be withholding that information that would prove me wrong and actually vindicate them. But they're all withholding it. I don't even know why, just in order to let my article stand for some reason. It's just very silly. Like, I'm sorry.
You can keep repeating this line over and over again, but to me, I'm not looking like for a debunking when I'm looking at an article. I'm just looking to see if the original article even substantiates what's being said in the article.
We cite the contract, we cite text messages, we cite recordings of the phone calls. We got actually recordings of their onboarding Zooms. We cite
none of those things that you're referring to substantiated the idea that there were content restrictions or that disclosure was banned from any of the influencers participating.
We literally, again, it's cited in the article. You don't like that you don't have the primary sources, and that's what's upsetting to you is that you don't have the primary sources. And I understand why that's upsetting to you as a news consumer. That's something that I hear constantly when I cover news is I want to see the receipts. I want to see the primary sources because people don't trust journalism anymore. They don't understand how the process of journalism works. They don't understand the amount of vetting and fact checking that go into producing an article. So the only way that they can sort of understand how to consume information is to sort of see
Dude, she is a disgrace. Dude, when are you gonna get your Pulitzer, dude? Like when the fuck are you gonna get your Pulitzer? Like she is a disgrace to journalism, okay? She is a disgrace to journalism. All right. She should get like her like do journalists get like fucking licenses or some shit? Like does anybody know? Because damn, she is a disgrace.
Things directly and kind of try to make their own interpretations because they don't.
And I can't believe Pisco went so soft. I can't believe Pisco went so soft on her. Okay. Like it was just a friendly chat. Like what they had was a friendly chat, and it was like a softball interview, right?
Understand the fact-checking process. But what I would tell you is that there is a fact-checking process. And again, these influencers would love to discredit me. They would love nothing more than to discredit me. And they would love to prove me wrong. And I don't know what to tell you other than our story is based on facts. It remains factually true. And there's been not a shred of evidence that has disproven any of the claims that are made in our story. Now, I totally hear you.
No, you can just make claims without evidence and then expect the other person to disprove your positive claims. You are bad faith, okay? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing? You're being bad faith, okay? And you're concern trolling, okay? You don't care about any of this. You only care about sucking off Hasan, all right? You're like planning, you're like putting your knee pads down in front of him and then making sure that he gets the best sloppy topping he's had that day, okay? Like, dude, this is the only thing you're thinking about. Like, let's just be real.
Way that there are a lot of
how should somebody? Let's say that I claim I have seen a contract and it actually fully invalidates everything that you're saying about Chorus. Now, what do we do if neither one of us is willing to publish the original contract?
If that was true, then you could just go to the Condé Nast lawyer and say, "Hey, I was a Chorus creator and I have a copy of the contract and it's not what you claim," and they would immediately issue a correction.
What if they don't want to be involved with the harassment campaigns and everything else that goes on from all of these?
This is Wired. They're reporting on Trump and Doge. This is nothing for them.
This particular article that you wrote was a huge hit piece on all the people involved in like the center left sphere of politics. Maybe they don't want to be named. Yeah, I know you love dropping names in these paragraphs and knowing that you'll direct harassment.
Yeah, she's doxed people, okay? And before you say that dropping names is like not doxing people, just so you know, okay, even if you reveal something that's already been public, that's still doxing because you did it with the intent to harass, okay? As long as you're revealing personal information with the intent to harass, that is doxing, all right? So even if that information, typically we are referring to like finding out new information because typically people keep things private, right? Because people would typically keep things private, you know, like they're not going to be revealing pieces of information out there. But, you know, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Obviously very silly, but yeah, multiple people. Yeah, people certainly didn't deserve it. Also, like, I like how the implication is like, oh yeah, like these people would never talk about like how Israel is conducting a genocide, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, like, again, there are like very pro-Palestinian content creators in Chorus, okay, which is deeply ironic. All right, but you know, I wouldn't expect them to do any kind of like fact checking. They see Brian Tyler-Cohen, probably sees that he's a Jew, and then goes after them, right? So
maybe they don't want to be named.
No. The people, if you're providing information, you know, to fact check the piece, you wouldn't be named.
I don't disagree, but what's personal information seems unclear. Okay, this is gonna seem like a cop-out answer. Okay, listen. All right, this is gonna seem like a cop-out answer. Ready? Common sense. Common sense. All right. Yes, it's a cop-out answer, okay? But I think that it's pretty fucking obvious, like what is considered personal information for the sake of harassment, all right, and what isn't. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know what else to say. No, actually, anything that is not on the main page of the content creator, in my opinion, should probably not be like shown. Okay, like. If it's on the primary page of a content creator, then yeah, like chances are like they don't care if people like take a look at it. But if you hate them, right? If your content, if your social media account like shows that you know you hate this person, all right, and you're like giving out like personal information in a really fucking weird ass way, okay, then yeah, like you know that seems it seems obvious to me that you are doxing, right? Like. Yeah.
Why would you be named in the article? You're not agreeing to go on the record. You're just providing your contract.
Do you think that if a correction was even issued at this point, it would even correct for any of the damage done at this point?
What?
Well, I think if a correction was issued, that would be huge.
It wouldn't be.
Because, oh my God, yes, it would. Oh, by the way, I had dinner with just a few Chorus creators the other night. Yes, it would be. Yes, it would be because they would love nothing more than to disprove this article. They would love nothing more.
Lonerbox has a good article on this whole thing. It'll be boring, but in case you want to review it yourself, Taylor Lorenz Dark Money article, Lonerbox, Obsidian Publish. Oh, is that a thing now? Obsidian Publish? Like, Is that a thing?
To do that because they think that it has been damaging. And what I would argue is that the damage, and I do think actually, again, some of the creators that I even have hung out with recently were sort of talking about this, like, I would argue the real damage is in the response to it. And instead of sort of discussing these things in a normal way, like, it's been litigated into this thing where people, again, they end up sort of doubling down on the things made in the article instead of what I think they should have done, which is just proactively disclosed it. I think that would have hamstrung the article. I think that
can you tell me explicitly why is it that you would never publish the contract in question if you had a hold of the original contract?
The lawyers.
Okay, I still don't know why the fuck her profile picture is like this. I think it's hilarious. Like, obviously, I think it's hilarious, but I just don't. I don't understand like why her. It's just like it's so funny. It's so funny to me how like her fucking profile picture is the side eye, like the monkey side eye, like, and it's so fitting as well. It's like. She is the person who's like, when people go after dark money, left liberal people, and then they haven't noticed me yet. Like, that's kind of like the meme.
The lawyers make those decisions.
You're the journalist. Tell me why the lawyers make those decisions.
Yeah, for all different reasons. But
give me two of them.
Honestly, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand. I don't.
Oh my! What? Are you serious? You're the one who wrote the article, motherfucker, retard. You're the one who wrote the fucking article. Shouldn't you know more about this? Shouldn't you have at least researched the laws? You don't have to be a lawyer. No one's expecting you to make like a hardcore legal case. But come on, dude.
You literally have people that publish like Trump's tax returns and stuff. Like, you're telling me that like nobody's published a contract? Haven't people gotten contracts with people in Hollywood or big podcast sales and then published those contracts?
No, often the contract itself is not published for various reasons. I can tell you that. I feel this frustration. If you remember, like, for instance, when I did my interview with Chaya Raichek of Lids of TikTok, I worked so hard to get my actual interview with her, that source material made public, specifically because I think it's really beneficial.
But you could have made it. You could have made it public, though. No.
No, not without approval.
Why could you not have just made this a Substack post?
What?
Specifically with
made what a Substack post?
Instead of writing this for Wired, selling the article to Wired, which I imagine they paid you for the article, right?
I was a freelancer, so I wrote it on a freelance. Yeah, I wrote it for freelance for them.
Meaning they paid you for the article, right? Yeah.
Of course.
Okay,
yeah.
so then why wouldn't you just publish this on a Substack where you could release the entire contract?
Because I want legal review. Because I've been sued for defamation by lunatics before.
Why would you be sued for defamation publishing a contract? How is it defamatory?
Oh my God! Because the thing is, with defamation suits, it doesn't matter if they have any merit. They don't. Obviously, all the times I've been sued for defamation, it's thrown out or dismissed or whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's an intimidation tactic. And
well, then wouldn't this one just get thrown out and dismissed?
When you publish something independently on a Substack, you do not have the level of legal protection and legal review and editing. I wanted editors. Probably half a dozen people worked on this story. I know my name is on the top, but multiple editors, fact checkers, lawyers, people worked on this story at Wire, not just me. And this is a story that was complex enough, and especially with the amount of source material and the amount of creators we spoke to and the amount of material that we had, source material, I wanted to bring it to somewhere that I knew had a track record of really just going with the facts and making sure that absolutely everything I said was bulletproof, double-checked, triple-checked by...
If you know that discussing such info would lead your community, which you built, that you're in charge of, yeah, of course. Basically, it's obvious, right? Like, it needs to be obvious. It needs to be like, oh yeah, like, obviously you are trying to do it with intent to harass, right? Like, it has to be like something that is very obvious, no? So yeah, that's basically what it is. I
would argue some of the best editors working in media today. So I would want to trust them with that story instead of me just going on Twitter or giving it to some, leftist hate account that could have just made it into some drama and,
I'm sorry, I just don't buy any of that. There are tons of people that are posting incredibly salacious stuff on Substack. The idea that you thought you would have been sued by
Taylor
defamation.
Lorenz, let me tell you that. They're not named Taylor Lorenz. I do not have the level of legal protection that some other people do. And let me tell you, I talked to Ken Klippenstein, who's a good friend of mine, who does publish a lot of legal stuff. His legal insurance, it is something that I certainly cannot afford. I don't have that ability, unfortunately. And I think it's cool that some people do. But as somebody that reports specifically on censorship campaigns and reports specifically on, these bad faith efforts to silence journalists, if I have a difficult story like this, I don't want to do it on my own. I want the fact checkers to rigorously go through it. I want lawyers to tear it apart. I want people that are really the best in the business to look hard at every single word and say, is this factually correct? Is this
Why not email? If you email me the contract, I'll publish it.
That would be... Why don't you ask the creators? I certainly cannot do that myself. Legally, I absolutely cannot do that. You're asking me to just give you source material for my story. But what I would tell you is, why don't you go to these creators? Why don't you go
because
to
they're
creators?
all to the left of me. They're not going to give me anything. I've reached out to two. They both hate me.
They're not to the
They
left
absolutely are to the left of me. Absolutely they are.
I don't know the political sort of, breakdowns of everything, but I think there's some people in there. I mean, Brian Tyler-Cohen, if he's so eager to, share that this is not true, you would think that he would publish the contract or certainly give it to another outlet to discredit me. But he hasn't, and they
You
won't.
published your article on...
They don't need to do any of that, dude. They don't need to, dude. Oh my God, you're such a joke, dude. Nobody takes you seriously.
August 27th of 2025.
Yeah.
Your claim is that nobody was allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus, and that's one of the things that you revealed in your article?
The contract says that they were not allowed to disclose, and there's still no they're not allowed to disclose. They were not at that point. Now
that they were not allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus.
No. So you're mistaking. Chorus is the broader sort of thing, but this is the funding program is what there was no disclosure over. The Chorus was public, right? Chorus got that whole profile in the New York Times.
Foodshops, if I say you eat shit and you don't disprove it and leave it up, I guess I'm right. Yep, that's correct. Okay, we're gonna watch a little bit more of this and we'll probably stop. Because I think that they're just repeating each other over and over again. Basically what is going on is that Taylor Lorenz is basically saying, well, they didn't disprove it, so which means that my claim holds, right? Because I'm such a big time journalist that me making claims out of thin air without providing any proof means that it stands, right? She's basically saying, here's my resume, here is how reputational I am. If you do not go out of your way to disprove me, then that means that you are guilty. All right. That is hubris. Okay. Even the best prosecutor have to provide evidence in court. Okay. Even the most famous prosecutor, Miles Edgeworth. Okay. Even legendary prosecutor Miles Edgeworth has to provide evidence in court about your cases. All right. About the things that you do. Okay. No exceptions. All right. The burden is on Miles.
By Ken Bensinger when they were announced. Chorus was public. But
okay, wait. So just so I can understand. So then you're saying that they would all be allowed to say that they were part of Chorus. They just weren't allowed to say that Chorus was funded by 1630?
So Chorus is the bigger entity, but this specific political influence funding program, which had, they're doing different cohorts. They just started their second cohort, but their last cohort, right? They were not, those creators in that funding program were not allowed to disclose per the contract that they were part of this funding program. And you will not, I promise you, but I'd love for you to try, find me any evidence that these creators disclosed that they were part of this funding program before my article.
As in they were making money, or as in that Chorus?
No, that they were part of a funding program.
I don't know when you say funding program, I don't know what that means. Like your reporters and whatever thing, like that funding program, or?
Well, that would be an example of me disclosing funding. Sure. Yeah, that's an example of me disclosing funding. So you could say that, any of these creators were saying, hey, I'm receiving money, or I'm sponsored by XYZ. I'm part of this funding program that's giving me money to, promote whatever XYZ sort of messaging. None of them disclosed it.
I can go look for more of this. I don't have all of this offhand, but I have no idea why. I feel like publishing the contract or actually publishing parts of the contract, I think would have led a lot to the credibility to the.
I hear you that you want source material, and I empathize with you, and I always encourage news organizations to put as much out as they.
Show me your evidence, Taylor Lorenz. The evidence is that I made it the fuck up.
I can publicly, but in the meantime, there's 100 creators in that original cohort that can share the contract with you. One posted publicly.
You keep saying this, but in my mind, good journalism, the onus is on the journalist to substantiate their claims, not publish some whatever. No, you didn't. You did not. You did not publish any part of the contract. The one that I was thinking of, I guess, was a TikTok girl that was publishing.
We didn't publish the source material, but we cite. You
cite your opinions about it.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
We don't rely on our opinions of it.
Near the end, she challenges Destiny to write his own article, Pragmatic Papers. Okay, you know what? Base, that sounds fun. Okay, he should do that. Do you know why? Because writing a journalist paper, like an actual journalist integrity paper, according to stuff that I have learned in high school regarding journalism and the integrity of journalism, is actually really fascinating and interesting, okay? If you're truly concerned about the integrity of the field of journalism, you should be pretty passionate about adhering extremely strict rules, all right? Like, trust me, there are ways, and the language that you use in the article, all right, in the reporting is so important. It's so important, all right? Every single thing has to be adhered to extremely strictly. All right. So I would be, because I remember the journalism teacher was so strict. He was so strict about adhering to the rules and ethics. Okay. Good teacher.
Taylor, citing the source material would be a quote from the contract. What you're giving is your opinion on the contract.
No, it's not. No, my opinion on the contract is very different, actually. But no, we are citing the contract. Not only are we citing it sort of as it directly sort of says, but also as the creators themselves were told. Again, find me, like, I'm sorry.
Where in your article did you're citing from the contract talking about the contract?
It says, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired.
That new clip of Josiah calling Pisco a bitch is giving me life. Can you show me? Is that a confrontation? Share all confrontation and debates into content suggestions, please.
We are citing the copies of the contract.
You know, I might make this a longer stream just because I'm really like comfortable in this chair, and you know, you guys like seeing me in this like high quality camera. All right, perfect 2K, 4K video setup. All right.
What is citing when you're summarizing? You're giving your opinion.
No, we're citing. No, we're not. No,
there are no quotes.
I have a very different opinion on it.
There are no quotes in here. You said, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. Oh, so wait, I'm sorry. It was with Chorus and the 1630 fund, not the limited thing that you just claimed a second ago. So is that a misprint in your article?
No. So Chorus, the Chorus funding program, which is what the article is about.
No, that's not what this says. This says, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. Or functionally.
Their relationship with Chorus being the funding program that they're part of. The funding program that they're part of. That is what we're talking about.
Okay, don't necessarily. Again, I think that probably should have been spelled out there. But the biggest problem here is you're not citing the contract. This is your interpretation of the contract.
No, it's not our interpretation of it. It's not.
There's no quotes.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't put quotes around.
I have none.
The sort of the legalese.
That's what it means when you cite something. You say legalese is simple contract language. Nothing here is that complicated.
Again, I think you got to go to journalism school. Citing something doesn't mean.
Okay, what is journalism school? Is that a real thing? That's not a real thing, is it? I've never heard of journalism school, by the way.
Necessarily that you're quoting directly from it. You can just say what it says. So for instance, you mentioned Trump's tax returns. You can say, according to Trump's tax returns, he paid X, Y, Z. That doesn't mean that you're directly quoting from.
I'm pretty sure for the tax return stuff, they were literally publishing the 1040 front pages and stuff. But
sometimes. But I'm saying that you can cite documents without quoting directly from them. In fact, look at the OpenAI dispute, right, with the Pentagon, the Atlantic story by Ross Anderson. It's not citing, it's not quoting throughout the exact nature, the exact language of the contract.
There's a world where I could agree to you, but you're giving a very huge summary of what's going on in this contract without any underlying quotation at all.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry that there's not more quotes in there from you, but there is absolutely.
I know it sucks that I really wish there was like good journalism where I could rely on what's being said in the article instead of your interpretation. And you clearly have demonstrated multiple times in this conversation that you don't understand the funding structures, you don't understand how these hybrid entities work.
Destiny should just insult her journalism more. Okay, it's funny when he does it.
Understand? You don't reform my ideas. You describe this over and over again, but I'm supposed to. I don't know how many fact checkers. I don't know how many fact checkers and what editors are involved on this. I don't know for this one. I have no idea. Wired has different segments of their company that report on different things and fact check in different ways. I don't know what fact checking went into every single part of this.
Why don't you look at what section it's under? And why don't you think if you think that the Wired politics section is my personal blog that doesn't.
I never said it was a personal blog, but I think that the standards. I don't think this article should have been published without more evidence in the article. I would say that easily, of course. If you want to get somebody from Wired to argue with me, you can ask them to come out and say, "Hey, tell Destiny why he's such an idiot on what the journalistic standard should be for this article." I would gladly talk to anybody from Wired about it. 100%.
I think that if you want to claim that you personally would like more direct quotes, and that would have helped you personally better understand the article, or maybe
it would have helped. It would have substantiated the claims made in the article, which are largely unsubstantiated.
They are substantiated by directly from the contract. We are. You're right that we didn't put quotes around that language, but that language is almost. It's very similar.
If it was very similar, then why not just have a quote?
Because, again, for many reasons. One, when you're writing a story like this, the sourcing is very clear. And when you're continually putting quotes, there's editorial reasons not to do that. And again,
I think this is an op-ed. I would say that this is an op-ed. This is an op-ed. This is clearly an op-ed. This is an opinion piece. This is an opinion piece.
There's no opinion in that.
It is. Everything is an opinion. You don't have the original contract. We can't see it from the public. You're quoting that you're claiming that you're citing to something, a citation to material that we don't even have. So I don't know if I can even trust your citations. Other people, of course, have come out contradicting what you've said.
You're right. You don't have my source material.
The contract, correct? Yes, and you're not quoting from it at all.
And it's notable that you don't have direct source material of anything that you're claiming. You're claiming all this.
You're the one making the claims.
And I have the source material which we reference.
Yeah, but we don't have access to it, so we don't know if your references are good. Your opinions on it could be flawed.
No, I know that you think that, again, this just goes back to this idea of people like not understanding the process of journalism. And I think that this is
to be clear, just to be ultra rigidly clear, this is an example of bad journalism. This isn't an opinion. You're referencing a contract that we don't have access to, that we can't verify or validate.
It's not in the story. You never asked my opinion. If you want to know my opinion on all of this, I'll happily.
Upgrades, gamer girl sucks, and meowing for Lewis, dude. What do you want me to get? Thigh highs? Strike thigh highs? Give me a link. Give me Amazon link. I'll buy it.
Share. It's not in the story. It's not anywhere in the story. But I would happily share my opinion on it if you're interested to know.
No, I just wish that the article itself would have actually like substantiated anything it said with actual excerpts from the contract. That would go really far.
You personally want more quotes from the contract. I totally accept that.
I want the material that was used to substantiate the op-ed that I read. That's what I want. I want the op-ed to be substantiated with the actual material. That'd be so nice. That'd be so cool.
It's just simply not an op-ed.
Okay.
It's simply not an op-ed. And to dismiss journalism like this is very disappointing. I understand it's hard for influencers. I understand this. I understand that it is a confusing media landscape. I would argue that these funding schemes could, participate in sort of...
I just don't know.
He's so condescending, bro.
Know how I feel about somebody like you who gets money from a dark money fund, who's publishing hit pieces on other influencers and political orgs without disclosing any of the source material the stuff came from because you wanted to get paid by Wired instead of...
Okay, was that the 1HB voice? Did I just hear the 1HB voice? Pretty sure I heard a 1HB voice.
Publishing it independently. That's just a lot of stuff that's all coming together that makes me a little bit nervous about the sourcing of the material.
I would get paid more if I published it independently. I would have made way more than what I made from Wired.
How much did you get paid by Wired for it?
Not very much, let me tell you. For months and months of reporting, I don't think I can share my rate. But
so you're not allowed to disclose. Do you know what Wired's funding mechanism is for everything? Does Wired publicly publish where they get all their money from?
Wired gets money from subscriptions and advertising. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're open. I don't know. You have to look at Condé Nast tax filings. I don't know.
All of their sources are publicly available because otherwise wouldn't they make Wired a dark money fund and you're not even disclosing the amount that you're receiving from Wired for it?
No.
Do you think that journalists should have to report how much money they get paid to write articles for companies that they don't work for?
I actually would love transparency.
Well, then why don't you start? Wait, then why don't you publish it?
Because we agree not to share rates.
So then what's the problem with companies like Chorus if they have their agreements, but they're all obeying the law? They're all doing what's legally required of them.
I'm public. What is the difference between a journalist publicly writing for a news outlet and an influencer taking part in a secret political influence scheme?
It's not a secret influence scheme. You yourself said they were already public about Chorus.
The funding scheme that I wrote about, the 1630 fund stuff, was not public. The political influence scheme was not public. I'm sorry, it was not public.
The fact that creators were part of Chorus, were part of this group, that was public information.
No. Most of the creators mentioned actually, it was not public at all.
Hold on, no. I'm saying that there were people, nothing about it was mandated to be private, that they were in Chorus. They have YouTube videos of themselves on Chorus panels and talking about stuff.
Chorus itself was public, but not everyone affiliated with Chorus is in the funding scheme with 1630 fund. So there are people that were affiliated with Chorus that were not part of the funding scheme. The funding scheme is what was secret. It was a secret political influence funding scheme.
Weren't they all part of the same thing, but just some were getting paid?
That Wired will watch this, they'll be like, Taylor, why did you throw us under the bus?
Some weren't?
No, some are not part of that. Some also are moving forward with the second cohort, some are not. I would love if they would publish a full roster, but regardless,
are they legally required to?
No, and that's a problem I point out in the article. But journalists freelancing for a news outlet is nothing like a political influencer taking part in a secret political influence campaign. Journalists freelancing, and I totally.
But they're not required to publicly disclose, right?
No, that's what I point out in the article, is that they're not required to by law, and that's a huge problem in our political ecosystem, and something that I wish that both parties would work to address, because I think transparency is good, which is why, as I said to you before, I wish that pay rates across the board for freelancers were also all equal. I mean, I've worked at places where I found out that the person next to me is making thousands of dollars more for the same work as I do. Pay transparency overall is very
And you still maintain that the people that were part of Chorus, that they had content restrictions on the types of things that they could say?
What we cite in the article is that content, and correct me if I'm wrong because you have the article in front.
Bro, my old housemate just received a bunch of water and he's like, oh, thanks.
Content produced with Chorus funds was under restriction, I think, if it says in the article. You have to read the exact language that we use in the article.
I'm sorry, so your headline, as part of your headline here, you say that an initiative aimed at boosting Democrats' online influencers, offers influencers up to $8,000 a month to push the party line. All they have to do is keep it secret and agree to restrictions on their content. The implication there being the type of content that they make publicly.
Yeah, so you can read kind of like where those instances were sort of outlined.
So you think that you still maintain that Chorus was telling people that they couldn't talk about the genocide in Palestine, or that they were?
No, our article doesn't say anything like that.
What were the content restrictions implied by the headline?
That nowhere does it say anything about.
What were the content restrictions implied by the headline then?
Why don't you read further in the article?
I did read in the article. You don't substantiate anything though, so I'm just curious what you think the content restrictions.
We cite the contract. We cite the contract.
You don't though.
Why don't you read that? Let up and I'll read it for you. This is so exhausting. I need to get back to doing actual work statement. Hold on, let's see. So let's read exactly the portion that you're asking about. So it have restrictions on what sort of policies content could produce. The program kicked off last month. The creators were told that the influencers expect to be wired. I'm just reading it. Some creators also raised concerns about a slew of restrictive clauses in the contract. Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases on onboarding session. This is all us again citing our sources. For those receiving payments include, we mentioned a bunch of people, according of copies of the contract viewed by Wired and that the creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all.
So we know that they could disclose their relationship with Chorus, but you're saying at this point in the article what you meant was they couldn't disclose that they're part of the Chorus creator program.
Yeah, their relationship in the funding program, which is what this article is about, the funding program. Chorus itself is public. We link to the Chorus, the news article about Chorus, and we cite Ken Bensinger's public reporting on Chorus. Following initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some of the stipulations. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. If I want to work with another politician, I have to fully collaborate with them, said one creator who was offered the contract but ultimately declined and asked not to be named. If I get Zoran and he wants to do an interview with me, I don't want to give.
Oh, I remember now. I remember my talking point for this. Dude, that's all contracts. You're not forced to sign the contract, dude. You're not forced to sign the contract, all right? If you're signing onto a contract with Chorus, you're accepting that, you're going to be constrained, but you're also going to receive a bunch of benefits, right? That's all contracts. All contracts is give and take, right? There's no contract here that everything is just giving to you and there's no taking, right? Yeah, of course. If you're going to be receiving money and benefiting from a bunch of connections, then they should be a part of it, right? This is silly.
That to them.
So you're citing his opinion on his contract there, yes?
No, not his opinion. No, not his opinion. That's what he was told by Chorus. So he was told that by.
You asked for an Amazon link. Uh-oh. Bro, these thigh highs are ridiculous. Do these come in black? Why are the colors so light? Give me one in black, okay? These are way too colorful.
Well, he's telling you this, right? This is not a direct quote?
No, we have the original. We also have the Zoom calls and we have text messages and everything that back up all of
You have text messages or Zoom calls with a Chorus representative saying you are not allowed to book your own political interviews or whatever. They say that.
That's actually just directly written in the contract.
Okay. Yeah, sure, it would be nice if you put that in a quotation anywhere, but okay.
Well, again, sorry that we didn't put more quotes.
Well, I know it'd be good reporting and good journalism to do so, but I understand we're just in the nebulous world of opinions here. That's okay. My standard for op-eds is a lot lower. That's fine.
There's no op-ed, and this is. Tessie, are you going to actually engage with this or not?
I can't engage with anything. You're telling me to just believe you and trust you on the contracts that you read that aren't available publicly anywhere. I can't anything. I can't do anything.
I know you don't understand how source material.
But you don't understand how contracts work. So I'd rather see the source material than go on.
Does that say hack maxing by talking to Taylor Lorenz? Yeah.
Your opinion about the contract.
Here's some quotes for you. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as part of the program to make content that supports or opposes any political candidate or campaign without express authorization from Chorus in advance in writing.
Well, guys, I'm getting thigh highs, okay? Because someone is telling me to get it. I will not name their name, but they have sent me a link, all right?
Per the contract. The contracts reviewed by Wired prohibit standard partnerships.
That first paragraph you read, that's by law, right?
Okay? This is degenerate. I hope you know that this is very
makes sense. Behavior. That if I'm paying somebody for something, they can't take that money directly in support because that could be seen as that would be a campaign contribution.
Right, I'm about to read a quote where we mentioned some of this. So we say creators will, quote, not publicize their relationship with Chorus or tell others that they're members of the program, quote.
Wait, real quick, I'm sorry. Yeah, so you have to do the end quote as well for people, right? So you say, quote, not publicized, end quote.
Not
so
publicized.
that quote was 2 words. Go ahead.
No, we haven't gotten to the quote.
Well, that was one quote. You had 2 words quoted there. Yes, go ahead.
We have two words.
That's okay.
Quote, without Chorus's prior express consent. A screenshot from a slideshow was shared with Wired following this article's publication by Graham, a lawyer working with Chorus that offers several talking points if a member of the cohort wanted to discuss Chorus publicly. They also forbid creators from, quote, disclosing the identity of any funder and give Chorus the ability to, end quote, and give Chorus the ability to force creators to remove or correct content based solely on the organization's discretion if that content was made at a Chorus organized event.
Okay. So if we read through, so first of all, we're very sparsely working with actual quoted material here, but
all right,
I see that we have. I see that we have. Well, hold on. So we said that creators will not publicize their relationship with Chorus, but they could do that. But you meant the Chorus funding mechanism, I think, right?
Well, Chorus itself was a public program.
I agree. But it's real confusing reading this article because you seem to not really differentiate that. You just say Chorus, not the Chorus funding program.
All right, Tessie, I'm done with this.
And then it says, quote, without Chorus's prior express consent, end quote. So they could. They just needed to clear it with them first.
This is exhausting.
And then they forbid creators from disclosing the identity of any funder. Well, that makes sense, right? If 1630 is a LLC that doesn't have to disclose who their donors are, then you also probably wouldn't be allowed to disclose who you think is funding them, right? That makes sense, right?
My only request is donuts.
It's a waste of time.
But there's no. I don't think it is. I think it's actually really illuminating. There is so there are no content restrictions.
Rant about what are you talking about? We just mentioned a bunch of content restrictions. God, literally.
Guys, they're gonna bang. Okay, stop. Okay, that's not okay to joke.
Political content, as in like opinions they're allowed to have, stories they're allowed. Remember, in the second paragraph of your article, you said they had restrictions on what sort of. Let me do this for you. Quote: It mandated extensive secrecy about disclosing their payments and had restrictions on what sort of political content the creators could produce. End quote. That's from your article.
Yes. Go read it again, and that's what we're citing.
I don't know what you're citing. That's your opinion about what was said, but
there's no opinion. Okay. I'm sorry, there's no opinion. I have a lot of opinions. None of them are reflected in this article. I'll tell you that. Because if it was my opinion, I would be putting a lot of opinions into this piece, none of which are reflected. Again, this article was worked on by so many different people. Anyway, the article outlines some of the restrictions. So now you can just read the article over and over and over again until you die. I'm sorry if you get, if you want to go and, you personally don't like the quotes here, go look at that report, that one TikToker who posted part of the contract, the portion of the contract that she showed validated exactly what we reported. But if you don't believe that and you want to go.
This goes on for, okay, you're right. I need to stop. This is self-harm, okay? This is self-harm. I need to stop, okay? We have other shit we need to cover.